What are the 5 biggest games in the Wisconsin Badgers 2026 football schedule, ranked in order? Several months away, but why not now? Not going to take any L's on this one for a while. Sure, it's scary like a subscription if you wouldn't mind. I always appreciate it. So I know that the sort of the basic B way of taking this on would be, well, let's 5 most important games. Well, what are the 5 traditionally biggest teams we play? Or who are the 5 most likely to be ranked teams or the highest in the Big Ten? Maybe throw some rivalries in there, but there isn't an exact formula. But I feel I'm giving you a spoiler. I'm going to diverge from this a little bit when I do so, because I think in the context of how Wisconsin football has sunk and sunk and sunk, and then had a minor, small, tiny resurgence of sorts in the second half of last season, but then sunk at the end, and then retooled everything in the portal, got what I consider to be, and what most experts, to the extent those exist, consider to be a pretty good portal class coming in that's going to help things, starting with Colton Joseph and going from there. A lot of those position groups, a couple podcasts ago, I went through this, have been restocked nicely, in my opinion. D-back especially. I mean, offensive line as well, running back room. It just there's a lot to get excited about. I mean, don't get too high or too low about it right now. It's, mid-May. But it's okay to have a little bit of optimism. Always, that's the position I take. But I just don't have a great feel yet for what to expect from a record perspective and otherwise for the Badgers. I feel like they're going to be a better team than they were in 2025 for a number of reasons, especially because of the position groups I just mentioned. But I do know this, at least as it appears right now, the schedule they're going to be facing in 2026 is substantially easier than the one they faced in 2025. That shouldn't be too hard because it seemed by the end of the season, their schedule was ranked in most analytics as one of the top 5, number 1 in several. And it's been that way all along. The teams we had to play were preposterous. So it was Ohio State, Oregon, Alabama. Alabama didn't end up a classic Bama team, but it was just a murderer's row last year. But this year, I'm going to go through, in order, the 5 biggest games for the Badgers as I see them right now, with some time and some padding. And I'll do another one of these probably after camp or during camp. They're in August, but why not? Got something better to do. Don't have baseball. So let's go 5 biggest games. Badgers. In order. Let's kick it off. USC, number 5. It is conceivable that the Trojans will be the highest ranked team of any of the ones I talk about besides Notre Dame, who's going to be very, very highly ranked when the Badgers play them up in Green Bay to start the season off. But every year is Lincoln Riley's year. Every year is this is going to be the one where they break through. And I think it's pretty clear at this point that USC operates a little bit on their brand recognition, kind of like Indiana basketball does. They have a lot of money. They have some flashy alumni. O.J. Simpson, not great kids, but it's a national brand. Let's be honest. And Lincoln Riley is sort of, he was seen as this wunderkind, who under Stoops and then took the program over. It has a really fun offense. Usually has fun offenses. The defense has come up a little bit since it was terrible early in his USC tenure, but USC has been nothing special. Well, a lot of people think they're going to be special next year, and maybe they will be. They got all kinds of money, all kinds of talent there in South Central. But, I do not see any scenario where I'm going to be going to that game going, man, a win over SC, this is the pinnacle they could do this season. That's not to say that a win over what will probably, in all likelihood, be a ranked USC team won't be a huge win. Depending on how other games go in that season, it might be to that point in time, Luke Fickell's biggest win as a Badger coach. And that's not a deep well. But so I'm kind of trying to thread the needle here a little bit. I'm not trying to diss USC, and I have them on the list as number 5. 12 games, hopefully more. Only 12 we can talk about now. But, yeah, I think beating SC at home would be a nice substantial, heartwarming victory against a former Pac-12 team. Don't have a lot of USC-Wisconsin games in the history. 3-sack Jack had one where they kind of took us to woodshed in the second half out there at the Coliseum a couple years ago. But yeah, it'd be a real solid win. But I think I'd rank that as number 5. Curious if you think I'm too low there. Let's keep chugging. Number 4, Penn State. I don't have a damn clue how good Penn State's going to be. I have traditionally liked Matt Campbell. I think he had a huge I'm a fan of reclamation projects. He had a reclamation project over at Ames, Iowa, at Iowa State, and he built that into a respectable program. But he never built it into anything that was knocking at the door of the elite. If you go back and look at his records, there's a lot of 4, 5, 6 loss seasons. I'm not shaking a stick at those. A 4 or 5 loss season would be fantastic for Wisconsin last year. But I feel like the hype might be outpacing the performance just a little bit. So, whereas I thought that was a really nice selection over Happy Valley after James Franklin left, I know they're different coaches and different styles, so I'm not comparing them as a 1-to-1. But I can tell you that I'm expecting that program to look under Campbell from a wins-loss perspective, from a how they are in big games perspective, pretty similar to how it was under Franklin, who's now playing his wares in Blacksburg for Virginia Tech. I suppose you could say that sounds like a Matt Campbell hitter. I'm not at all. There was a time when Luke Fickell was on very tenuous ground. He still may be, and there was talk of who could replace him at Wisconsin. And Matt Campbell was one of the first names out of a lot of people's mouths. And I wasn't hating that at the time. But I don't want to, put him up in the echelon. He is a decent chance that could be a ranked Penn State team when Wisconsin plays them. And Wisconsin has not beaten Penn State in a long damn time. And beating them Happy Valley, I don't think it's going to be a whiteout game, guys. But, still beating them there is a big deal. And that would be a really, really nice win against a blue blood program for Luke Fickell. And I rank it number 4. Number 3, I really struggle with this one. The 3 that I'm going to slot 1 to 3, it was a battle. But there's not a ton of distance between these teams. But someone had to be number 3, and I'm going to put them there. And I think people are they might think I'm a little crazy for saying this. But number 3 is going to be Notre Dame. Maybe subconsciously I put them here because the chances of beating them is lower than some of the other ones on this list. But it would be a massive win. So I want to be clear here. Massive in the way, maybe even bigger than the LSU game back in 2016 in Lambeau. This is in all likelihood, going to be a real tight Notre Dame team. National title contender, certainly a college football playoff type team. That's always tough to get in, but they missed it last year. But they'll be ready to roll. It's going to be a good team. But the fact it's not a conference game, it does put the finger on the scale for some of the other ones I'm going to talk about. Only got 2 more. But yeah, that would be a, that's where we are now. A program-defining kind of win that would get massive national attention and a lot of momentum at the beginning of the season for Fickell and his team. And I don't think it's an impossible game for Wisconsin to win, guys. I mean, we'll get into predictions later. I certainly would favor Notre Dame in this game. But I think Wisconsin's going to have a chance. I think there's going to be a lot to prove. I love the night game. I love the night environment. It's going to be Lambeau at night is just amazing. And it'll take a perfect game for Wisconsin to beat that team, but they can do it. But I'm going to get into why it's number 3, more in the context of number 1, number 2. But yeah, that would be number 3 on my list would be Notre Dame. Again, I think I'm probably a little low for most of you, but that's where we are. Number 2, this was another very wafer-thin margin, is going to be the Iowa Hawkeyes down there in Iowa City. That is a program that we handled for a number of years. It was always competitive until the Badgers kind of took control of that series there in the late 2010s into the early 2020s. And then the door just slammed, and they have absolutely brutalized the Badgers last few times they played. Last year I was in attendance there in Madison, and that was a debacle of all debacles. That game was over before kickoff. I'm telling you. Now, Wisconsin stabilized things and had a couple of really nice performances against Washington and Illinois that made me forget that a little bit. But whoa, that was a rough one. But also a really good symptom of where the teams were, at least in that moment in mid-October 2025. So taking it to Ferentz's guys over there in Iowa City, going to be a blackout or whatever they do there, where the black on black. It'll be an intimidating environment, no doubt. But wow, going in there and somehow pulling a victory out against the Hawkeyes, who will be rock solid again, I have no doubt. Probably not an elite team, but a rock solid team. Would be massive for Wisconsin. And again, I mean, I'm not the old Big Ten West rivals, man. Those games are always the most important. I mean, I don't know why I sound like I'm from Brooklyn, but it kind of is when they've dominated you. It is when they've dominated you, guys. They've dominated Wisconsin. They've dominated us. 42-10 followed by 37-0. 79-10 over 2 years. I don't remember Wisconsin ever dominating Iowa like that. Even Ron Dame was running over them. So yeah, that'd be a gigantic victory against a rival that I respect greatly. If you have taken a second to think about who's left and who's not left, you might be a little bit ahead of me here for number one. And this is probably going to be as controversial as Notre Dame at number 3, but I will explain myself. Beating Minnesota, the Gophers, PJ Fleck's perfectly okay team year in and year out, will probably win 6 or 7 games and play in one of the weakest bowls and win another bowl game. Yeah, that's big. Giving PJ a 3-game winning streak against Wisconsin would be abysmal. That's a big game. It's not the most important game in terms of like beating a great team for recruiting necessarily. I don't even think it's that. Beating Minnesota, although it may be necessary for a certain level of bowl game or to get bowl eligible, so there's going to be a narrative there making it important, but it's not going to be a national story. I mean, it's possible Wisconsin could be ranked or Minnesota could be ranked at the time. That's not going to be 2019 number 12 versus number 8. I got some news for you. But yeah, beating PJ Fleck and getting that axe back in Madison is the most important game of this season. If you were telling me, Scary, you can pick one game and guarantee it's a win, this is the one I'd pick. Because the downside is so low. The downside of losing to Notre Dame is really not very low at all. You're not gonna get me off the hill that Minnesota is the biggest win this season. Again, not the flashiest, not the most media attention. The pundits probably won't give a crap, nationally at least. Just the thought of being owned yet again by the Big Ten's most okayest football coach, PJ Fleck, a gentleman who is entering his 10th season after taking over a 9-win team and his under 500 career in the Big Ten, playing most of his years in the Big Ten West. No major bowl games. Their biggest win was an Outback. Hey, cool, that sounds great now. I would love to have an Outback win for Wisconsin, but that's not a goal. That's not a program goal. And yeah, he's steady and solid and gets them those crappy bowl wins, and that's where they are. That's the team you got to beat, guys. That's a team you cannot let own you. You cannot be owned by an okay coach. Because let's do the math on this. If an okay coach owns you, what does that make you? Yeah, you heard me. So the Minnesota Gophers, down there in Madison in the Axe game, is the number 1. most important game for the Wisconsin Badger football team in 2026. I'd love to hear what y'all think. Give me your top 5. Hell, top 6. Who knows? No rules. Just give me the comment, and I really appreciate it. I love responding to every one of y'all, whether we agree or not. And talk to you soon. These are gonna probably ebb and flow, but my guess is when I do another one of these, if I do an update there in August, it's gonna look pretty similar to this, guys. And Scary Alvarez is out.